The target appeared in the compound window for exactly 2.5 seconds, a brief exposure that had defeated Morrison's team throughout the entire day. Maya's crosshairs settled on a 0.3 inches high and 2 inches left of center mass, compensating for atmospheric conditions that existed only in her understanding of wind and thermal dynamics. Her finger squeezed the trigger with the kind of deliberate pressure that comes from years of hunting moving targets across impossible distances. The rifle's report echoed across the desert like thunder, its sound carrying the weight of mission success or failure in a single projectile traveling at 2,800 feet per second. Through the spotting scope, Davis watched the bullet's trajectory bend through invisible atmospheric layers before finding its target with surgical precision. The high-value individual dropped without a sound, eliminated by a shot that had seemed mathematically impossible moments before. Morrison stared through his own optics in stunned silence, his legendary reputation suddenly overshadowed by a logistics coordinator who had made the impossible shot look routine. The desert wind carried dust devils across the shooting lane, the same atmospheric disturbances that had defeated his team now settling into normal patterns. Maya stepped back from the rifle with the same quiet confidence she had shown while organizing supply inventories, her moment of revelation complete but her demeanor unchanged by the extraordinary demonstration of hidden skills. Captain Rodriguez's voice exploded through the radio with confirmation that sent shockwaves through the entire operation. Target eliminated, mission accomplished, and extraction teams were moving into position to secure the compound. The impossible shot had succeeded where conventional approaches had failed completely. Morrison approached Maya with the kind of respect reserved for fellow professionals who had proven themselves under ultimate pressure. His questions came in rapid succession, seeking to understand how someone with a logistics specialty had developed marksmanship skills that exceeded his own team's capabilities. Maya explained her background with the same quiet efficiency she brought to supply management. Her grandfather had been a competitive shooter who taught her to read wind patterns and atmospheric conditions on the family ranch in Montana. She had competed in precision rifle competitions throughout college, earning sponsorships from ammunition manufacturers before choosing military service over professional shooting careers. Davis shook his head in amazement as he reviewed the shot data through his spotting scope, the ballistic calculations revealing compensation factors that had been invisible to their sophisticated instruments. The atmospheric disturbances that had defeated their team required the kind of intuitive understanding that came from years of practical experience rather than technical training. This incredible moment shows us that talent can be found in the most unexpected places. Where are you watching from, and what hidden skills do you possess that others might never suspect? The convoy prepared for extraction with a completely transformed dynamic among the team members. The journey back to base carried a completely different atmosphere than the morning convoy, with Morrison's team treating Maya as an equal rather than invisible support personnel. Her quiet competence had always been present, but now it commanded the kind of respect that could only be earned through demonstrating extraordinary skill under ultimate pressure. Morrison personally recommended Maya for immediate transfer to the sniper division, recognizing that her combination of technical precision and atmospheric intuition represented capabilities that could not be taught through conventional training programs. Her logistics experience would actually enhance the team's operational effectiveness by bringing supply chain expertise to precision shooting operations. Captain Rodriguez included detailed commendations in his after-action report, documenting how unconventional thinking had salvaged a critical mission when traditional approaches had failed completely. Maya's contribution would become part of tactical doctrine discussions at the highest levels of military planning. The base welcomed them back with celebration that acknowledged not just mission success, but the discovery of exceptional talent that had been hiding in plain sight among routine administrative duties. Maya's transformation from invisible logistics coordinator to recognized marksman represented the kind of story that would be told in training programs for years to come. Share this story with someone who needs to remember that everyone around us might be carrying incredible abilities we never imagined. Sometimes the most extraordinary people are the ones who never feel the need to prove themselves until the moment demands everything they have. Emma's small hand slipped into Marcus's as they walked through the rehabilitation center's lobby after school. Her backpack bounced against her shoulders, filled with the day's artwork and spelling tests that would soon cover their refrigerator at home. "Daddy, why is that lady so sad?" Emma whispered, pointing toward the therapy wing where Victoria's voice could be heard through the doors, sharp with frustration. Marcus knelt down to his daughter's level, smoothing a strand of dark hair from her face. "Sometimes when people get hurt really badly, they forget how to be happy," he explained gently. "They push other people away because they're scared." Emma's brown eyes, so much like her mother's, studied his face with the serious expression she wore when trying to understand the adult world. "But we should still help them, right? That's what Mommy would have done." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. Sarah had always been the one to reach out, to see past people's defenses to the hurt underneath. She would have found a way to help Victoria, consequences be damned. "Yes, Mija," he said softly. "That's exactly what Mommy would have done." Emma nodded solemnly, then brightened. "Can we get ice cream on the way home?" Marcus smiled, the first genuine one he'd managed all day. "Of course we can." But as they left, Sarah's voice echoed in his memory, gentle but insistent. "Help her, Marcus. You know how." Marcus arrived early the next morning, his conscience heavy from Emma's words. He found himself lingering near Victoria's therapy sessions, ostensibly cleaning but really observing. What he saw made his stomach clench with professional alarm. The therapist was positioning Victoria's legs incorrectly for the resistance exercises. The angle would put dangerous stress on her lower spine, the very area that needed the most protection. Marcus had seen this mistake before, years ago, and knew where it led. He watched Victoria grit her teeth through the pain, her knuckles white as she gripped the parallel bars. She was pushing herself too hard, and no one was stopping her. The therapist seemed more concerned with impressing the billionaire than protecting her from further injury. Marcus's hands tightened on his mop handle. In his former life, he would have intervened immediately. But now he was just the janitor, invisible and voiceless. Speaking up would mean revealing his background, risking his job, possibly facing another lawsuit if something went wrong. But what if something went wrong because he stayed silent? The therapy session ended with Victoria exhausted and frustrated. Marcus watched her will herself toward the elevator, her shoulders hunched with defeat. Every instinct screamed at him to help, but fear held him back. What would you do in Marcus's position? He wondered as the elevator doors closed behind her. Stay safe and silent, or risk everything to help someone who didn't even want his help. The scream cut through the morning air like a blade. Marcus dropped his cleaning supplies and ran toward the therapy room, his heart hammering against his ribs. Through the glass doors, he saw Victoria on the floor beside her overturned wheelchair, the therapist standing frozen in panic. She had been attempting a transfer from chair to exercise table when something went wrong. Now she lay crumpled on the mat, her face twisted in agony, one leg bent at an unnatural angle. "Call 911. The therapist shouted, but Marcus was already pushing through the door. "Don't move her," he commanded, his voice carrying the authority of years of training. His hands moved with practiced precision, checking her pulse, examining her positioning. The therapist stepped back, startled by the transformation in the quiet janitor. Victoria's eyes found his, wide with pain and confusion. "Who are you?" she gasped. Marcus knelt beside her, his fingers gently probing for signs of further spinal damage. "I'm someone who knows what he's doing," he said quietly. "Can you feel this?" He touched her ankle lightly. "Yes," she whispered, and relief flooded his face. "Good. That's very good." He looked up at the paralyzed therapist. "Get me a cervical collar and a backboard. Now." For the first time since her accident, Victoria saw past his janitor's uniform to the skilled professional underneath. "But who are you really?" she asked as the medical team arrived. Victoria's private room felt different now, charged with unspoken questions. She sat in her wheelchair, studying Marcus as he quietly emptied her wastebasket. The fall had left her shaken, but not from the physical trauma. It was the memory of his hands, sure and knowing, that haunted her. "I want to know who you really are," she said suddenly. Marcus straightened slowly, his back still turned to her. "I'm the janitor, Miss Sterling. Don't lie to me." Her voice carried the steel that had built a tech empire. "No janitor moves like that. No janitor knows spinal protocol like you did." Marcus set down the trash bag and finally faced her. For a long moment, they stared at each other across the expensive room. Victoria saw the weight in his eyes, the kind that came from carrying secrets too heavy for one person. "I was a physical therapist," he said quietly. "Licensed for 12 years. Specialized in spinal cord rehabilitation." "Was?" Victoria leaned forward. "What happened?" "A patient died during my care. There was a lawsuit. I lost everything. My license, my career, my wife's medical bills bankrupted us. She died 6 months later." The silence stretched between them. Victoria had expected incompetence or fraud. She hadn't expected tragedy. "Have you ever had someone surprise you with hidden talents?" Marcus asked, his smile bitter. "Sometimes the people you dismiss have exactly what you need." The question hung in the air like a challenge. Victoria didn't sleep that night. By morning, she had made her decision. She waited until Marcus began his rounds, then cornered him in the supply closet. "I need your help," she said without preamble. Marcus looked up from organizing cleaning supplies, his expression guarded. "Ms. Sterling, I can't, they're killing me in there," she interrupted. Slowly, with their incompetence. "Yesterday wasn't an accident. It was inevitable with the way they're handling my case." Marcus set down a bottle of disinfectant. "I'm not licensed anymore. I can't practice." "I'm not asking you to practice. I'm asking you to consult. Privately. After hours." Victoria's voice dropped. "I'll pay you $50,000. The number hit Marcus like a physical blow. 50,000 would change everything for Emma. College fund. Better apartment. Security he hadn't known since Sarah died. "It's too risky," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "For who?" Victoria challenged. "You think I'm going to sue the man who might actually help me walk again? I'll sign any waiver you want. Full liability protection." Marcus stared at her. "You really think you can walk again?" Victoria's composure cracked slightly. "I have to believe it. Because if I don't, what's left?" The desperation in her voice reminded him of his own darkest moments. When hope was the only thing standing between survival and surrender. "When do we start?" he heard himself say. The rehabilitation center felt different at 10 o'clock at night. Empty hallways echoed with their footsteps as Marcus led Victoria to the unused therapy room in the basement. He had spent the day researching her case file, reviewing her medical records, preparing a treatment plan that might actually work. "This is completely different," Victoria said as Marcus adjusted the equipment to proper specifications. Her wheelchair was positioned at the optimal angle, the parallel bars set to the exact height her injury required. "Everything they've been doing up there is textbook standard," Marcus explained, his hands moving with practiced efficiency. "But textbooks don't account for your specific injury pattern. You have incomplete cord damage at L2, which means nerve pathways that everyone assumes are dead might just be sleeping." He guided her through movements she had never attempted, supporting her weight in ways that felt both foreign and familiar. For the first time since her accident, Victoria felt her body responding to commands she had forgotten how to give. "My God," she whispered as sensation flickered through her left leg. "Is that real?" Marcus smiled, the expression transforming his weathered face. "That's real. Your nervous system is waking up." They worked for 2 hours, and when they finished, Victoria was exhausted but exhilarated. For the first time in months, she felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. 3 weeks into their secret sessions, Victoria broke down completely. She had been attempting to bear weight on her legs when her strength gave out, leaving her trembling with exhaustion and frustration. I can't do this anymore, she sobbed, her composure finally shattering. Everyone keeps telling me to be patient, to believe, to keep trying. But what if this is it? What if I never walk again? Marcus knelt beside her wheelchair, his voice gentle but firm. Victoria, look at me. She raised her tear-streaked face to meet his eyes. I'll help you walk, he said simply. Not might. Not maybe. I will help you walk again. The certainty in his voice stopped her tears. How can you promise that? Marcus was quiet for a long moment, remembering Sarah's hospital bed, the promises he couldn't keep. Because I failed someone I loved once, and I won't fail again. Because you deserve to have your life back. Because sometimes the only way to heal yourself is to heal someone else. Victoria stared at him, seeing past the janitor's uniform to the broken healer underneath. We're both trying to find our way back, aren't we? Marcus nodded. Yes. And maybe we can find it together. What's a promise someone made to you that changed your life? Victoria whispered, thinking of his words. That someday, this pain would mean something, Marcus replied. Today, I think it finally does. The night of the breakthrough came without warning. Victoria had been working on weight-bearing exercises when something clicked, like tumblers falling into place in a lock she had forgotten existed. Her left leg, then her right, began responding to signals her brain had been sending for months. Marcus, she whispered, her voice filled with wonder. Marcus, I can feel them. He moved quickly to support her as she gripped the parallel bars with white knuckles. Slowly, impossibly, Victoria Sterling began to lift herself from her wheelchair. One step. Then another. Her legs shook with the effort, but they held her weight. Oh my God, she breathed, tears streaming down her face. Oh my God, Marcus, I'm walking. Marcus stayed close, ready to catch her if she fell, but his own eyes were bright with unshed tears. You're walking, he confirmed, his voice thick with emotion. Victoria managed 5 steps before exhaustion overwhelmed her. As Marcus helped her back into the wheelchair, she grabbed his hand. You gave me back my life, she said fiercely. How do I ever repay that? Marcus thought of Emma, sleeping peacefully at home, unaware that her father had just performed his own kind of miracle. You don't repay it, he said quietly. You pay it forward. Victoria nodded, understanding flooding her face. It was time to return the favor. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the lobby of the Victoria Sterling Rehabilitation Center, no longer wearing a janitor's uniform. The brass nameplate on his office door read Marcus Rodriguez, Director of Physical Therapy. His license had been restored after Victoria hired the best lawyers in the country to clear his name. Emma bounced beside him, her new school uniform crisp and bright. The private academy Victoria had insisted on funding was everything Marcus had dreamed of but never dared hope for. Look, Daddy. Emma pointed excitedly as Victoria walked through the front doors, moving slowly but steadily with only a walking cane for support. The transformation in both of them was remarkable. Victoria's face had lost its bitter edge, replaced by purpose and genuine warmth. Marcus carried himself with renewed confidence, the weight of failure finally lifted from his shoulders. How are our new patients settling in? Victoria asked, joining them near the reception desk. Beautifully, Marcus replied. Mrs. Chen took her first steps yesterday, and David's sensation is returning ahead of schedule. Victoria smiled, watching Marcus with obvious pride. You were meant for this work, she said softly. If this story touched your heart, Marcus thought, watching Victoria interact with their patients, let us know where you're listening from and subscribe for more uplifting stories. Some promises, he had learned, were worth keeping no matter the cost.